Good morning, or say good afternoon, everyone. My name is Armstrong County Commissioner Pat Fabian, Chairman of the Southwestern Commission. Welcome to the full commission meeting. Today is Monday, April 28th. Calling the meeting to order here at 4 o'clock. This real quick, and all your communities, don't get mad or upset. It's orange and cone season. Remember, it's funding coming back to your respective communities. So just keep that in mind. So, especially when your residents are calling frustrated about when projects are going to be done. Be happy the money is landing in your community. So, we do have a quorum. At this time, are there any conflicts of interest declaration on any of the agenda items? Not seeing or hearing any. We're going to move along. Looking for a motion on the minutes from February 24th, 2025. I wish to insert Commissioner Straight, do I have a second? Second, Commissioner O'Sheet. Any questions, comments, or revisions on those minutes as written? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes carried. Public comment. I do believe we have someone, Mr. Greg Boris. If you have the floor at this time, I'm glad to see here.
I'm right down here, hiding behind Dan Griston. My name is Greg Boris. I live in Mount Lebanon. Been here before. I recently spoke to you about safety of the roads and streets in our region. The good news is that while the first half of 2024 saw more traffic fatalities in Pennsylvania, the second half showed a decrease. And I haven't seen an analysis why, but that's a great step in the right direction. Last time I also noted that PennDOT in its 2024 statewide transportation improvement plan set a target for more traffic deaths than in the previous year. I realize that in part reflects rolling averages, and which of Pennsylvania, like other states, there were blips on more deaths during COVID. But this goal is far from ambitious. We need to see less deaths, not more. I also highlighted the traditional focus on traffic safety with its emphasis on education and less so on enforcement. Today I come to talk to you about engineering. First, a disclaimer, I am not an engineer. What I'm about to say is not how to design the streets. Rather, my comments come from several decades of serving on a similar MPO in another part of this country and learning from engineers, learning from transportation officials about what works and what doesn't work in many communities. There were several assumptions made about traffic crashes that these crashes are caused by driver mistakes. Even if you go to Google will say 80 to 90% are due to driver mistakes. That traffic crashes are a result of factors that are totally unpreventable. Green streets are designed to be safe. People use them dangerously. These are all myths. There are many factors that result in crashes. Many crashes are a result of factors that communities can address. And streets are designed and built in a way that make them dangerous, even for the most careful of drivers. And every crash, law enforcement fills out a checklist about the crash. That's filed with the state. It comes in, it's disseminated across the state, and that data is used in many ways. And lawyers use that to determine who's to blame, who is at fault in the crash. Besides looking at the data from these police reports and maps, people in communities know where certain streets and roads prove dangerous to them as pedestrians, cyclists, or drivers. I live on Washington Road, Mount Lebanon, where there are residences, schools, and churches. Between Uptown and Galleria, the 2 miles stretch there, you have a 35-mile-per-hour limit. When I drive that, I go 35, and I am passed all the time. Speed is a big deal when it comes to getting to places. It's also a big deal with hurting people. I realize I have limited time, so I'm just going through my notes, try to cut things out. Communities need to drill down on the data that we have, and both from the police reports as well as drawing on the knowledge of the people in the neighborhood. That sort of approach has been used in communities across our nation. Indianapolis, Hyattsville, Maryland, State College, Pennsylvania, Charlotte, Denver, and others, so they can address specific problems. I'm going to encourage communities in our region to do the same. I know that commission staff knows about this. I recently attended their listening session and presentation in Dormont on Vision Zero. Their work on Vision Zero initiative is moving us in the right direction. It's encouraging to see that so many people on staff are part of this process. The work of staff to develop communities where helping get to where they need to and want to get is important. However, those of us around this table and those at the Dormont meeting probably are drivers. My guess is that most of those who went to that meeting drove, and I'm guessing most of us in this room drove to get here. With 25 to 30% of the people in this MPO region being non-drivers, it seems to me that those folks who do not drive should have more of a representation at this table and other discussions regarding transportation in our region. With this in mind, I challenge each of you to walk, bike, use transit for a non-recreational purpose at least once a week between now and your meeting in June. Then at that meeting, I would encourage you to place on the agenda what you have learned by having this activity. What did you find out by walking or cycling or taking transit during that 2-month period? Some of you may have participated in a week without driving last fall. That's an intense experience with small but increasing participation. My challenge, I think, is an easier lift. Try it out. So during the Depression, the Empire State Building took 410 days to build. Since then, building construction, particularly of that magnitude, is more complex. Short and medium-term fixes to our roads safety should not take this long. So that seems to be the case. I call upon the commission, elected officials, PennDOT, to do what we know works for safety. Slower speeds, narrow lanes, bump outs, to name but a few. And for the streets of our region, we need to move away from the 85th percentile methodology. That's the good rural activities where there are, when we're looking at urban and tight neighborhoods, that doesn't work. Safety needs to be a top priority. Drivers need to be vigilant and not made to feel comfortable if they drive on our streets and through our neighborhoods. Use the data, try some immediate low-cost fixes, see if it works. If so, improve on it. If not, try something else. And do that deeper dive and get somewhere else other than in your car. Thanks for listening to me. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Morris, for your comments. Moving along on agenda item 4, our executive director, Rich.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me start off, first of all, thanking everybody for being here today. The attendance, which is terrific. I want to start off with right off the event. You see on the left up there, the Community College of Beaver County, the workforce development, expanding the aviation building. It was a great event at the airport, the Beaver County Airport. With Commissioners Camp Manning and Emma Dale will be there, along with Representatives Matsey and Senator Vogel. We learned a lot about CCBC, but what we didn't, at least I didn't know, that almost in every airline in this country, pilots have come out of CCBC for the training. And almost in every airport, there's an air traffic controller who has CCBC, Community College of Beaver County, on their resume. So tremendous opportunity for people an industry that needs a lot of workers, and a place that's providing that pipeline of workers. Moving on to the right, one of the most exciting announcements we've seen in a number of years is the Homer City Data Center announcement that was made. A $10 billion project. That would be the biggest project we've seen in this region since the cracker plant about a decade ago. They're talking about 10,000 construction workers and 1,000 workers after it is done. So as we see, we heard earlier in the policy meeting with Joanna Dubin from the AI Strike Team, that these data centers are most likely going to continue on. In Washington County, Fort Cherry, another data center that's going to be going on as well. And I know some of you have others that you probably can't talk about under NDA, but that are going to continue to happen. And we have a great opportunity here in this region to see that happen. We're also going to be a little bit later on going to hear from IUP and Indiana University of Pennsylvania, Dr. Miko Rose and Christine Ford. We're going to talk about the DO school that they're going to be opening up, which is the first one in Pennsylvania, the first one outside of an urban area. And it's very exciting that things are really happening in Indiana County. So congratulations to our friends there. Upcoming commissioner meeting that we're having next week, or the trip to Harrisburg, May 5th and 6th. We're going to be, having a number of meetings with cabinet secretaries and senior legislators. I just would ask everybody who is planning on attending, the elected commissioners, to let DJ know, so that we can coordinate the meetings we have with various legislators, senators, cabinet members as well. Also going to be monitoring developments regarding transportation with senior transportation staff. And then obviously we're going to be having meetings with our friends around broadband, the PBDA staff. DJ is going to talk about that later on in this meeting. Several great events over the last few months. The Washington County Expo with Commissioners Janice and Sherman and Maggie. It was a well-attended event down at W&J, Washington and Jefferson, around economic development and all the exciting things that are happening in Washington County. Kudos to the commissioners on really a great event that they had down there. Jen Lasser and I have had many meetings over these last couple of months with some of our workforce investment boards around the need for workers and trained workers throughout this region. Most early on was focused on healthcare, but also going to be focused on really just about every industry. So stay tuned for some of the work that's going to be coming out of that Jen and her team will continue to do. The 2026 NFL draft, as people say in that lingo, we are on the clock, so to speak, in southwestern Pennsylvania. We heard a report earlier from County Executive Innamorato, who was there, and I know Laura Zahicky from the governor's office was also there. Wanted to give kind of a couple of updates, kind of reiterating what the county executive had said. But there's an opportunity for businesses across the 10-county region to apply and support the 2026 draft operations in Pittsburgh. The NFL and the Steelers have made a commitment that all business will be done by businesses who are located in our 10-county region. I want to emphasize that the deadline to be certified and apply is on May 7th, and Jen will probably talk about that a little bit later on in her report. It's called the NFL Draft Source Program. It's run in partnership with the NFL, Visit Pittsburgh, and the Steelers. That's an opportunity for local businesses and diverse businesses, women-owned, minority, veteran-owned, LGBTQ, people with disabilities to gain exposure to the subcontracting opportunities related to the 2026 draft. Business should take a look at the website, and the website is 2026nfldraftsuppliers.com. So make sure your economic development departments are getting the word out to the businesses in your various counties to make sure that that happens. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that's my report.
Thank you, Rich. Any questions for Rich? I don't just like to add to thank Rhonda and Chuck. They were in Armstrong County over the weekend. We got yet another ribbon cutting on a trail extension of 5 miles into Leesburg Borough. So we keep working to expand our robust trail system, and we have a pretty aggressive timeline on flyover in Armstrong County that's going to open up 150 new miles to Butler County, into Westmoreland County, and also here into Allegheny County. So we're pretty excited about that from Armstrong. And again, if you need Rich or anyone on his team to come out to your community to celebrate something, promote something, please reach out to them. They're more than willing to do that, and as you found in Rich's reports. Moving along, agenda item 5, transportation report, and turn it over to Lily, Director of Transportation.
Thank you. So before I get into this, I just want to do a quick announcement. I think many of you have already RSVP'd and are aware we're going to be having an event in Armstrong County, as Commissioner Fabian said, on May 16th. It's going to be a long-range plan strategy session. We're going to be doing a refresh on the role of SBC and responsibilities of commission members, as well as an outlook of the development of our next regional long-range plan and economic development strategy. So just kind of a high-level overview of what's to come over the next few years. We want to hear from you on what your priorities, your goals, your policy areas that you're particularly interested in from each of your counties, so that we can kind of frame our track and make sure we're going in the right direction. But we're going to have a lot of meetings for that to come. So if you missed that one, we're going to be covering it at commission. We're going to be doing lots of other meetings over the course of that. So stay tuned. In terms of other transportation department activities, in our program development sector, the US 422 Corridor Regional Significance Plan framework has been completed. It was shared at the March TTC meeting for county planning review and reviewed by districts 10 and 11. Preparations for the beginning of the 2027 TIP update process are underway. This includes a whole range of activities. You're going to be seeing a lot of Brian Gordon and myself over the next year or so. So we've been participating in the statewide financial guidance committee. We've also been participating in the statewide general and procedural guidance committee. We've been promoting the state transportation committee pre-12-year plan comment period. So important to note that comments that are made in our region will be considered during our TIP update process. We go through all those comments for our region from the STC and look through them with the TIP work groups in each PennDOT district have been scheduled, and all relevant county and city staff have been included in those meetings. So those are going to kick off around July. And public participation panel orientations or meetings are underway. So we had our first meeting in Butler this month. Rhonda's been doing a fantastic job putting those together. We'll continue to go out to each of your counties over the next few months and host meetings for those. And those are just to get your panelists oriented to the TIP and long-range plan processes and prepare them for, again, what's to come with our public event. And then as part of the 2027 TIP update process, the application period for the next round of SPC competitive funding is going to open on June 2nd. Wanted to get this in front of you guys because it's between the next commission meeting. Ryan is going to be presenting the program guidance for review at our May TTC meeting. And then there will be an informational webinar for prospective applicants on June 10th at 10 a.m. And that will be advertised in May through all our committees and on our social media accounts. So if you have any questions about that or you're looking for that information, reach out to us. We'll get it to you. In our operations and safety department, the 10-county regional safety action plan is currently in the draft stage. It will be presented for adoption at the June commission meeting. The safety team held a series of public meetings in each county and across the city throughout the last month to discuss safety concerns with local residents. We received also some great nominations for the Faces of Safety and Impact Stories. So thank you to all of you that submitted for that, that will be featured in both the plan and in companion videos that are going along with the plan. So we really appreciate that. And then the grant-funded Allegheny County Safety Action Plan is also moving along. That will be finalized by late 2025 or like January 2026, very latest. For our transit and transportation management groups that combine these, since these kind of go together, a lot of them, our Federal Transit Authority triennial review is coming up, and will be held in our offices on June 3rd and June 4th. This review focuses on our transportation demand management team and our commute info program, as well as other FTA monitor programs like the funding SBC provides to our 3 regional TMAs. And as part of our subrecipient monitoring process, members of our transit and finance teams met with each of the 3 regional TMAs to ensure they were in compliance with all federal regulations and all our compliance. So that's great news. Bike and Walk to Work Day is going to be for SPC on May 14th. This is something we do every year, celebrate all different modes of commuting. Bike Pittsburgh is on May 15th. That's their promotion of Bike and Walk to Work Day. And SPC will be participating in that as well as part of our TDM program. And then finally, after DJ's report, I'll be introducing resolutions that we adopt each year, which proclaims May as National Bike Month and is commute info New Options Awareness Fund. So stay tuned. I'll put it out for your consideration. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Lily?
Lily, the information on 422 corridor. Where can I find out of regional significance? Public?
It's on our website, but we'll.
Okay, I'm searching it and just not popping up direct.
Yeah, I go full call. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just with regard to the sort of transit funding crisis in Allegheny County, and I know Senator Costa made what sound to me like some good comments about consolidation of networks and whatnot. I was just wondering what can SPC do to kind of help support? I know that there's going to be, I don't know what it is, but there's going to be like a big Harrisburg lobby day in June with like Pittsburghers for Public Transit. But, how can SPC help kind of, rally with all the folks who need to rally to make sure that we don't lose our transit funding?
You got, I think they're rich.
But we don't have one.
Well, I think certainly next week when a lot of the commissioners will be at Harrisburg, I think some of those discussions will be had with some of our state legislators, senators, and representatives. And yeah, I just think it's a discussion that needs to happen. And I know there was some discussion earlier on about Senator Costa's proposal, whether that's going to be sufficient to do some of the other things that might be coming down the road. We're not sure. I know this plan that was passed, I think it's 12 years ago now when they did Act 89, the 10-year plan, was able to go an extra couple of years because of the American Rescue Plan dollars. It kept transit and Catherine and her team going for that time. So it's really going to be up to this group and the elected commissioners and others to talk to their legislators and talk to the governor's office and PennDOT and everybody else to see where that goes. I wanted to add one other thing back to not to change the subject, but back to the draft. I know Lily, Director Gabreski has been coordinating some meetings because I think the drop-off points and needing all the transit agencies, not just PRT, but all the transit agencies to bring this work. Commissioner Fabian said, Chairman Fabian said, maybe up to 500,000 people will be coming during that time. And I didn't mean to not have you, Laura. Was there anything that you wanted to add before? Okay, I don't want to not go to you on that.
Got it.
But I think that's where our consequence.
So, sorry, when you say next week, is that meeting of the Allegheny Conference at like the Philadelphia?
Yep, exactly.
You plan
This is Chuck. Yeah, this is Chuck Colling. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
since we'll be in front of those.
Yeah, I was going to say this is Chuck Colling. If it's appropriate for me to say anything right now, but as Rich mentioned, we'll be in Harrisburg next week, and the Pittsburgh Regional Transit, Catherine Coleman, CEO, will be in Harrisburg next week and the following week. Also, I believe tomorrow, Rich, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's going to be a rally outside the large convention center of interested groups, including Sarah and Morado, Mayor Gainey, but also community groups, labor leaders in support of transit funding. And then in Harrisburg on the 5th in the afternoon at 2:00, there's going to be a rally in the main Capitol Rotunda led by the Pennsylvania Public Transportation Association, all the rural transit agencies in support additional transit funding. So there's a lot of things that are going on right now. The question is how we can make certain that whatever is being done to address transit can be done in conjunction with the state budget, which supposedly is to be done by June 30th. A lot of us are skeptical it will be done on time, but clearly there are a lot of different steps that are being planned, and we'll be glad of it keeping the Buchanan team to keeping the SPC staff aware of those things, as well as Senator Costa's legislation. The legislation introduced by Representative Nielsen, the chairman of the House Transportation Committee. So we'll keep you guys involved, but I think we'll pick up a lot more information when we'll be in Harrisburg next week.
Your reservations. This is back up. I know Lily brought it up, but on May 16th, we're having a long-range plan and board orientation meeting in Armstrong County. Just to reiterate, I know I've got a couple questions, but that facility, the Meredith Inn, which sits along the Allegheny River, is handicap accessible, and lunch and parking will be provided for you. All right. Any other questions? All right, moving along, broadband update by our Director of Communication, Strategic Initiatives, DJ Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Oh, I saw you. Great, that work points. Hi, everybody. So just a quick update for you. Before I get into my actual report, though, I want to introduce you to two of our new staff members who just joined the team. They don't know I'm doing this, so they gave me now. Melissa Brown is our editorial and compliance specialist. Melissa, do you want to stand up back there? And Melissa's going to be working. This is her first commission meeting, but in the future, you're going to be hearing a lot from her in terms of getting these meetings organized. She also writes all of our plans, our big documents, and puts all together for us. And we're very happy to have her. And then Mason Fish, who is our new public relations specialist. He's doing all of our social media and other work, and that's a lot of great content that you're going to see coming on shortly. So finally, have a fully staffed communications operation. And now just into my report. So on the broadband front, there's not a lot of an update. I will be honest in telling you that, well, first of all, I am still on the technical subcommittee at PBDA. We are business as usual there, and there was not much of an update shared at the last subcommittee meeting. PBDA, the overarching board, did reject rules for equity implementation. It was for a separate program from the main aid funding I know a lot of you are paying the closest amount of attention to. Got a lot of decent media coverage out of that vote, and it does show that there is some issues still to work out among the PBDA in terms of what they're willing to move forward. We're going to be in contact with the PBDA. Rich mentioned we're going to be meeting with them when we go to Harrisburg next week. We have not officially heard of any changes from Washington to the aid program. However, there are rumors and intrigue abound, as there are for a lot of things these days, but we have not had any official word. And our understanding is that until that happens, we're not going to know much at all. NTIA is in the process of onboarding a new director. So hopefully we'll have more information on that after that happens. I know that there are some states who have decided to proceed with their BEAD funding and then move as far forward as they can, regardless of whether or not the federal government changes guidelines. We, in Pennsylvania, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. That will be a decision you also will be up to the PBDA board. The suggestion that I and the staff here has for all of you is, commissioners, please continue to educate your federal officials on your broadband priorities. Please, talk to them as much as you feel is necessary so that they can understand your positions related to broadband funding. We certainly don't want to see this drag out any longer than it has to, and appreciate your continued engagement. I will leave it there. Anybody have any questions?
TJ, if I might, happen to have some more information on where things are with broadband. And since I think the group is going to be going to Harrisburg shortly, it might be pertinent. I think county commissioners have a particularly relevant comment. The broadband NTIA's recently had their director of BEAD leave, Evan Feynman. He had an appointed term and it wasn't renewed, right? And I happen to know well, and I know the people inside of that building. So NTIA does have renewed rules that is up in front of the Commerce Secretary. So it said those rules would be terribly unfavorable to Pennsylvania, in my opinion, amongst many things. One, just on the basics, if Pennsylvania waits, right? So Louisiana is pushed forward. They're in a place where they're now asking NTIA to let them through on the old rules, right? Nevada's in the same place. Pennsylvania, by admission of the Broadband Authority and the email we sent last week in general, has gotten an enormous amount of application. Many of you worked very hard with various ISPs in your county to have that happen. I think all of our counties have fiber applications available and teed up, right? They could go out. Those applications happened under rules that prioritize affordability and fiber, right? The Broadband Authority scored all of that, right? They have 89% of those eligible locations covered with a fiber, 97% covered with a bidder, right? So plausibly, they could take and make awards, adjust them. I know we've got a wage issue with some of those cost structures, but adjust the awards and get it out. They're sitting on them at the request of NTIA because NTIA wants to put in new rules. The new rules will almost certainly, I'd be willing to wager 99.9% chance, require a redo of the entire bidding process, right? So that's a guaranteed 1 year delay, even if you love the results, right? In the process. In addition, they're considering setting a national extremely high cost threshold idea. What that really translates to is, for most of your areas, fiber will no longer be the priority, right? And once you take priority and you put a minimum speed in 100, you're talking about satellite, maybe fixed wireless being the result of what is most cost effective for your areas. Mind you, any one of your constituents, every one of your counties could get satellite tomorrow for a $500, I'm pretty sure it isn't the $500 keeping them from buying it. It's $250 a month for, for service, right? So effectively, this is saying it's more cost effective federal government give you, the electricity version would be, we'll give you a generator to only work it, so it won't work if it rains, but that'll be fine, right? If we think about economic development for the region, even if someone doesn't have internet, when they get that or they get a fixed wireless solution, you all can tell me how great that is for your economic development pitch for all those data centers we've been talking about, or all the other things we want, versus a fiber line with reliable service that doesn't have any issues. So from an economic development point of view, those opportunities, the flip in the program would be very bad for Pennsylvania. Say nothing of the affordability being taken out and the fact that it's already done. It's not surprising that the staff of the Broadband Authority would not want to push NTIA, who's their thing. What is a concern is that the Broadband Authority itself is pushing. And I think because they're not being pushed, right? I don't see the governor's office, as far as I know it, pushing this issue, but they could be, right? So it's an option for Pennsylvania to say, hey, we're done. Let's go put it in, right? We'll submit our final proposal. We don't need your 90-day ability. And we have pretty good leverage in the federal government in terms of all the people you guys know in your federal, your federal representatives, all the Republican federal representatives we have. Senator McCormick knows the Commerce Secretary pretty well, right? But they can't do any of that work if we don't ask them again, right? If NTIA comes out with new rules and then we say, we don't like those new rules, we'd like to work under the old ones, good luck with that, right? So you're all going soon. It behooves you not just in the meeting with the Broadband Authority staff, who, God bless them, didn't do that much by the month. They kind of need to be forced into it. But with the board members, if you're meeting PBDA board members, with the other members of the governor's cabinet, say, hey, broadband really matters for us. It does, right? And we have people ready to go now. And you guys have already graded it. Please don't sit around waiting for Washington to help us, right? We've had that experience many times, right? Please go ahead and get it done. And let's be in a position to strike out. Right? So you can see the comparison. West Virginia, entire state done with fiber at less than the money that they were allocated for BEAD. Howard Lutnick called up the governor. Now they're rethinking and I think of making half the state separate, right? And now there's a whole eternal fight with county commissioners saying, hey, don't do that to our county, right? So that's the preview of what's coming if we wait until NTIA figures out those rules. DJ, to point about the Ariel Roth, she won't be in for and Senate vote yet, but they have a political in there, and those rules are already up there. So the timeline on this is set. So that's my best read, right? I guarantee you it'll take an extra year. Almost certainly will make fiber less likely in your counties, and without any affordability attached, right? So, and the Broadband Authority could move forward, but choosing not.
I must have with PC Math.
Yeah, comment.
Yeah, he did. He had a comment about satellite. That's what I was looking at.
Oh, up for the meeting. Oh, okay. Thanks for your comments. Any other comments?
Our Fayette County needs broadband. We have probably 8,000 people that need broadband, don't have the availability of it. We had a good plan going in, but in the end, it all came together. We had a couple of heavy hitters, internet service providers, Comcast, Verizon stepped up and submitted applications to cover the whole county. We're ready to go. Not to get this done, not to have fiber is a travesty. We need that. Satellite's not going to work. We've got too much of a challenge with our geographics or different elevations and those types of things. And I don't think it'll work. So we're on the cusp of being able to solve this problem. And for them to pull it back and go with satellite, I don't, that's a disservice to Fayette County as far as I'm concerned.
Appreciate your comments, Vince. Any other comments? I just like, again, we have a unique opportunity to go to Harrisburg next week on May 5th and 6th. And then if you haven't signed up to go with that contingent of county commissioners from SBC, I would encourage you to do so. Obviously, we've heard about public transportation and obviously broadband. So we're going to have a platform. Chuck and his team are going to put us in front of the people that we need to talk to. So I'd encourage everybody to get to Harrisburg with us next week. Moving along, agenda item 7. Turn this over to Lily. We have proclamation 4-25.
Thank you. So this is the first of 2 resolutions that we're bringing to you today to consider. This first one is a resolution, and we do both these every year. We have, for several years now, to proclaim May 2025 as National Bike Month in Southwestern Pennsylvania. The resolution states that we're in Southwestern Pennsylvania, we'll celebrate biking and the freedom, joy, and well-being it brings to everyone in the region who participates in this activity. It also acknowledges Bike Work Week and Bike Work Day that I discussed earlier. It touches on improving safety when bicycling and encouraging bicycling for transportation and recreation, and the positive economic benefits associated with bicycle tourism. It is ceremonial in nature, so we're just supporting the work of our transportation and management team, and it was sent out as part of the pre-meeting info packet.
And we need, this is an action item. We need a vote on this. So, look, well, you
Never get to do this.
first, I have a second.
Second.
Good. Any comments on this? As always, I'd encourage folks to, adopt these resolutions at your public meeting in your respective counties as well to, make part of your record and also to encourage your communities to engage in what they're promoting. So, first, second, on National Bike Month. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Good. Yes, we carried. All right, we got a second action item.
Yeah.
Resolution 5-25.
Yeah, same deal. This is also ceremonial for our transportation and management team. So this is to make Commute Info Commute Option Awareness Month. So this celebrates commute info services, which if you're a policy committee, against Andy gave a great presentation on the work that their team does. And it promotes the ride sharing for its financial and social benefits, along with reduced congestion on our roadways.
All right, again, that was sent out to pre-packed as well. Commute Option Awareness Month. Will be for a motion for adoption.
So second.
Got a good looking team down there. Blair and Vince, excuse me. So thank you, gentlemen. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried. All right, moving along, Workforce and Economic Development Report, Jen.
Perfect. So good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you all on this beautiful day. I'll be very brief because we have an even greater presenter coming up after me. So everything's going well. Things are a little crazy right now, but we're getting there. So small business support wise, under my team, we had 2 loans closed over the last few months. We have one that was actually just voted on today for next month close. Not to get into the real meat and potatoes of it all, but tariffs are an issue for a lot of our businesses right now in terms of equipment worries. So we don't know what this is going to look like. We're staying patient. We're going to kind of see where everything goes. But that is a pretty common topic of our small businesses with my team here right now, especially under our second department under myself, which is export. So we have multiple events hosted here at SBC through the Regional Export Network. Again, tariffs impacting our export imports. Those folks have been having Harrisburg conversations with DCD and their other partners. A lot of uncertainty. Our Apex government procurement program, funding uncertainties and spending freezes. We don't know what's going to happen. DoD Apex programs outcomes are uncertain. We don't know if we're going to have one next year or not. That's not an SPC thing, that's nationwide. So we're hoping that we do, because this is a really great program where we help businesses who are interested into getting into the government marketplace. So if you have any small businesses that want to have conversations on this, please feel free, direct it my way. We have a team of people to help handle through this uncertain time, even if it's just to talk out different scenarios. So going further into other things that we do, grant technical assistance. ARC Power is on hold right now. We have been told it is coming, but we don't know when. We have been told that the notice of solicitation, which is their term for notice of funding opportunity, is sitting on a desk at OMB right now. Now, we have been told that it is coming, but we just don't know when. ARC area development, though, is open and available. Local access road funding is open and available. Applications are going to be due in July for this. I think you all know by now, Faith Collins, but she's here. If you have any projects you want to discuss, please feel free to discuss. EDA new projects on hold until Commerce's budget is approved. And so USDA rural, same thing. And we don't know. So what does this really all mean? I know it seems very confusing, but I cannot stress this enough. Use this time to develop shovel-ready projects, partnerships, and programs. Because when these dollars do become available, they're going to go quick. And they're going to want projects that are ready to go. So use this quiet time of uncertainty to keep pushing and focus on what we can control. I really want to stress this. SPC, we are federally mandated to be of assistance to you all. Again, those dues that you pay into, we are here to help. We are here to handhold. We are here to brainstorm. We are here to provide data. SPC is here to help. So if you're not sure about who can pay for what, let's work together and start to figure out a plan for what doors or offices to knock on. SPC continually has been recognized as a convener. So we want to continue to be that for you as well as any of your counterparts. Happy to brainstorm project ideas. So speaking of, we had this great visit here last month on the 14th. The German American Chamber hosted a delegation visit of German elected officials. And then later that day, 50 plus individuals came to a reception here. Show some pictures, just a little bit to give you an idea. But it was great. So what they did is they wanted to talk to SPC because we're recognized under ARC as a best practice, right? We're talking about revitalization, talking about how we help and can transform communities. And I'm so grateful for that because they specifically came to not only talk to us, but Colin. So do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So we had Bill Flanagan come and talk and do just an incredible history of Pittsburgh, which was very cool. Pittsburgh had a similar issue to us, I guess, in that they are full impacted. They wanted to see how we were able to revitalize in terms of us also being full impacted. Rich was there. It was an incredible meeting, and though they speak English better than I speak English, I mean, it was just like incredibly impressive. Jen, am I missing anything?
No, I just really wanted to shout that out because we hope you all see it as well as that, we build the table at which the conversations happen. And not only do we get that locally, but we see that internationally. So we're really grateful. And so thank you again to Faith for doing just a phenomenal job on our behalf. So more stakeholder engagement at recent visits. Again, as Rich had mentioned, CCBC Aviation School groundbreaking was amazing. We have the pleasure of working along so many of our colleges, universities, community colleges. We are so lucky here in Southwestern Pennsylvania. I just can't thank our education community enough. You'll need to hear from them in a few minutes. We brought DCED to Westmoreland County to see some of the sites. They were going after some area development dollars. We had a planning director forum hosted here, UPMC workforce discussions, labor and industry conversation around workforce. We were just at the University of Pittsburgh Institute of Politics event last week, and IUP's College of Osteopathic Medicine. Had the pleasure of meeting with this lovely team over here, just going to speak after me next, and went to the NATO DDAA conference in Washington, D.C. So I'm not sure if any of you all are aware, but we're part of the National Association of Development Organizations and the Development Districts Association of Appalachia. Did I get that in this right? All right. I can never get DDA for some reason. That was in Washington, D.C. to kind of hear about what's going on, what's going to happen with funding, where are they seeing planning efforts moving forward. And it was a great meeting. Got to see Gail Manchin and all of that team. Just a great visit. But we're all in this together. We're all going to get through this. We're going to have funding split back out. And I'm really excited for, again, if we can continue to have these conversations when those dollars are going to be released, working together to make Southwestern Pennsylvania just as competitive as possible. And then we had our prep and engage meeting, at which also continued to remind people just what Richard reminded everybody of, which is the NFL Draft Sorts program. This was sent out to all of your economic development organizations. Again, 10 county-wide. Deadline to apply is May 7th. I'll send this out to everybody just in case you're not aware. But think of your small businesses, local diverse businesses. It's an opportunity to gain exposure and subcontracting opportunities. Again, it's all related to the 26 NFL draft. So it IT, catering, event setup. Am I missing anything? Just
Everything like florist. Really, they're looking for all different kinds of local businesses. And I don't want
to release this. I just wanted to.
they're going to have businesses that are accepted into the program, but they're also going to keep a database of any businesses that are not accepted into the program that they may end up using. So, for instance, in Green Bay, they told us they had probably 7 or 8 different cases where in the last week they needed someone who hadn't been accepted into the program, and they were able to jump right into the database and contact them. The biggest piece of advice they've kept telling us to repeat is tell people to apply and then tell them to answer their phones. That a lot of folks need to make sure their voicemail is working because they will call them, and if they don't answer, then unfortunately they're not able to participate in the program because they can't reach them. So please encourage your chambers and all of these businesses that you work with all across Southwestern Pennsylvania to apply to the program. It's not a very hard application. There's a couple of very basic requirements. Be in good standing in Pennsylvania, and basically you have to exist. But they want to make the barrier of entry quite low. So the businesses that might not be so sophisticated are able to participate. Another thing that I think is really cool that they're doing is providing mentorship for some of the smaller businesses with some of their larger sponsors. So the NFL has large sponsors that are, worldwide corporations that they work with. And it's an opportunity for small businesses to learn from them and work with them as well.
And this is just such a perfect time. Our region is so special. We have the U.S. Open coming up, the NFL draft, so many different opportunities to bring people to our region to learn the great things we do. So I keep going back to the point, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So anything we can do in advance of this, let us know if you have any ideas. You can utilize myself, my team, brainstorm. If you're not sure who, where, what, or how to start, think of us as a concierge to the region on this. We know everybody. We talk to everybody, and we just really want to connect. So Build Back Better update very quickly. We hosted our SUP award grant meeting at Westmoreland Community College at the Advanced Technology Center. Did a tour. You could see the makerspace that was there. We had about 50 people, which was great. And this was just the sub awards and the grantees to talk about what's working, what's not working. This was hosted about 2 days after the federal freeze happened, so we had a lot to talk about. But everything should be back on track with us. We have been told to expect some language change requests from EDA coming up in the next week or two, so we'll just be changing some of the things that we do. We're working on gathering data and more importantly, looking at expanding options for placement data. It's really difficult to find out where people go after they've been trained. And so we're also working on individual modifications. There's only about 1.5 years left on this grant. And we've done great things. I'm actually in the process of doing the semi-annual report right now. That's 18 individual sub-reports compiled into one large report. But we've trained thousands. I can't stress this enough. Thousands of people have been trained into robotics. Hundreds of people have been placed in work-based training. Scholarships have been issued. And we have these great success stories that I really look forward to probably at the next meeting giving you an update on. But anything you might want to have questions about with the Build Back Better grant, I'm your person to talk to about that. But it's going well, and we're helping a lot of people, and more importantly, helping a lot of businesses. So what's coming up? Multiple speaking engagements promoting the great work we're doing. I'll be in Harrisburg tonight through Thursday. I have a presentation talking about relationship building and presenting with PCED on Thursday to talk about relationships and why it's so important to have these kind of interlevel relationships. Office of Transformation and Opportunity Engagement meeting. We have a meeting coming up in June that you all will hear about soon. Office of Transformation and Opportunity was established in 2023. The whole point of this group is to basically solve problems, bottlenecks that are affecting businesses. And they're going to be utilizing SPC to host a stakeholder engagement meeting. So thank your economic development organizations and your planning directors for keeping it at that level on a public level. What's not working? What are the permitting challenges? What's going on that's affecting businesses in your area? They truly want to hear what's happening and how they can help. They're leading coordinated efforts and really tasked with making Pennsylvania a top 10 state for business. So you'll see more information on that. My team is helping provide support to the July DDA Summer Training Conference that's going to be here for 2 days. So we'll be working with our federal partners, state partners, and National Association of Development Organizations. So we should have at least 13 states represented, and continued workforce conversations with our employers, making those connections, conversations with federal funding and what's next. We're constantly talking to our federal partners. Have you heard anything? And then we'll be leading more discussions on housing, transportation, and understanding your regional needs. I know I spoke fast because I'm so excited to introduce IUP. So Dr. Nico Rose and Christina Corin are from IUP, and they're going to talk to you today about rural health, which is a huge impacted issue for us. We want to see how we can improve it. But I can't thank you all for the partnership on so many different grants, programs, et cetera. I'm going to hand this over to you to just dazzle everybody with your amazing program. Okay, no pressure. Yeah, one's for you, Rich, Commissioner Fabian, and then you can, I would love to.
Yeah, we've got some two-hander
Couple souvenirs.
and some brochures. Thank you so much for having us. I have my team here, Chris Corin.
Yep. Chris Corin, Director of Strategic Partnerships under my purview at the university. It's government relations. And I just can't thank Rich enough and Jen for all the collaboration so far. We do believe this project that you're going to be hearing from the deans is going to make a huge impact in our region. So just keep in mind, IUP has played a significant role in our workforce needs in this region of Pennsylvania for almost 150 years. We celebrate our 115-year anniversary starting this fall. So there's going to be a lot of anniversary events going on. So we hope to see some of you back. We'd love to have everyone back, but it's going to be an exciting year ahead of us. And just keep in mind, last year alone, we graduated 9,000 students in high industry demand careers. That's STEM fields, nursing, education, cybersecurity. So that's a pretty significant influence when it comes to talking with the university, who has been producing some significant leverage in the workforce realm. So, but today, again, you're going to hear it from the deans themselves. But again, we're just thankful and grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have Dr. Lynn Mortensen joining us as the Associate Dean of Preclinical Affairs, and Ryan Smith as the Dean of Clinical Affairs and Graduate Medical Education. So thank you so much for having us here. We will try to keep it as brief and focused as possible, and good to see some familiar faces. And thank you to Rich and Jen for hosting us and inviting us to the table. So as many of you in this room know, Indiana University of Pennsylvania and the PASHE statewide system, right? This isn't just publicly funded now to call ourselves public, but the PASHE statewide school system is an extension of the Commonwealth. And so we could not be more excited to be the first public osteopathic medical school in the state of the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
IUP has a very strong reputation throughout the Commonwealth of, as Jen's talked about, this workforce development aspect and being grassroots for the people, for the state, by the state. And our graduates are very well known to enter the workforce and not be afraid to roll up their sleeves and work hard. So we're very excited. We have a strong STEM background. We have a strong research mission, incredible PASHE enrollment. We have a health sciences cluster where most recently our provost and president directed, including psychology, into the health sciences cluster, fully acknowledging that within health, if we don't bring mental health and psychology to the forefront of our health sciences conversations, we've missed a lot of the needs of our communities, particularly rural. So here's some economic impact just from starting a medical school in Indiana to the region and to the state. What the slide doesn't show in subsequent data done by the same third-party company that looks at economic impact, particularly in rural regions, is that this is some of the initial data. Upon graduation, for which we will have 120 students graduating per year to become physicians in the state of Pennsylvania. At any given point in time, once we're fully enrolled, that is 480 medical students per year, 120 students per class, 4 years, 480 medical students in the region. Now, half of those students will be based in Indiana for their preclinical years 1 and 2, and then years 3 and 4, those other students are going to be spread across the state. Once those students graduate, we're updating some of our slides, if only 60% of those graduates stay in the state of Pennsylvania, that is a $1.3 billion
annual impact of increased revenue to the state. In addition, 120 docs graduating and entering the Commonwealth. We have a lot more providers. We have an emphasis on serving rural and an emphasis on primary care. Now, I don't know how many of you have seen this, who live in rural regions. I know from the state of Pennsylvania, just looking around, most of us are from rural regions. I moved here in November of 2023, and I have now been on my second primary care provider in counting, right? Like, we just got the same provider. He's moved again. We'll see if he'll keep that same doc, but we have heard and experienced how hard it is to find a primary care provider. So the good news is if you're based in an urban area, preventable deaths, obesity, cancer, a number of preventable death-based diseases are avoidable. So those that live and are based in urban areas, avoidable deaths are now pretty much being leveled out, and people are not dying of avoidable deaths. The challenging aspect of this in rural regions is that excess deaths in rural regions have been climbing to exponential ratios. A number of that comes down to primary care and access to physicians and care providers who can identify some of these preventable, avoidable deaths. Some of the numbers that you'll see at the handout is 1 in 1,030 individuals per individual physician. So your ratio of physicians in region to individuals is 1 in over 1,000. So very, very challenging to get a physician or primary care provider. We have very close networks within not only our Indiana medical healthcare partners across the state of Pennsylvania. And here's a map. Each of these little red dots is one of those PASHE institutions. And look at the darker shaded gray areas. Any region that's in either an entire shortage or a primary care shortage area. Right? Even the light gray shaded regions, we're very well aware there are underserved populations and communities within, quote, acceptable physician to patient ratios that still have great healthcare needs. So we're really focusing on the rural regions and their great healthcare needs to try to improve health across communities. We have some exciting neighbors like the Homer City plant revitalization and some of those projects. They're all going to need healthcare providers. We were highlighted in the news by the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette with our first signing for Gwinnett Area Hospital as a potential national model for setting standards for rural health and really improving economic development within rural regions, as well as some innovations in medical education. Here's our mission, is I'll add these, and really focused on being a federally designated rural location with a rural-focused mission. So we understand that we will be, once fully accredited, the 11th rural, federally designated, located medical school with a rural-focused mission in the country. So it's not common for schools to have medical schools in rural locations and to also have a rural-focused mission. We have just turned in our application to move from stage 1, which is applicant status, to stage 2, which is candidate status. We should be hearing shortly, I think in June, about our final some decision making there. We don't have a lot of control over that, but whatever your prayers, contacts, connections, like please put in a good work for us. We appreciated it. The final report of our work was 1,685 pages. That's even more work than some of us have done in medical school. Yes. Clinical rotations. I was very fortunate to be a part of, invited to mastermind this project and this question of rural health and innovative, unique approaches to solving the challenge of rural healthcare access through the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine. And they said that one of the things that makes this project nationally unique is the number of clinical community partnerships that we have. So in other medical schools we've all come from, we've worked with a number of different institutions. Normally we're knocking on doors, asking institutions like, hey, would you consider taking our students? Do you have opportunities for political partnerships and rotations? With IEP, groups have been coming to us. And even though our president was told, you will not, of all the things that are going to be the biggest challenges, the biggest challenge will be finding clinical rotations. And he was told, you will not be able to find enough political partnerships. We never have double the minimum requirement through the COCA accreditation standards. So we will be able to offer and require our students to complete additional rotations in rural primary care, even though that's not required by the National Medical Accreditation Association, as well as a full additional month of training in mental health and psychiatry. So we're very excited, and with double the amount of rotations required and needed, our students will be very tempted to stay within the rural regions across Pennsylvania in which they're doing the rotations, because we'll be able to offer them close to 2 years of rotations rather than look to 7 months. So we could not be more excited with having the partnerships with many of your regions and just grateful for all of the work that your incredible regions have been approaching us to collaborate. Here's the summary of the locations that have signed with us thus far. And we just love pictures of all of these community signings. They've all gotten just tremendous press. We've been able to partner with the Department of Health Secretary Deborah Bogan, as well as Department of Human Services, Val Arcouche. And just they have all been so powerfully collaborative and encouraging. We've got the Congresswoman here, Senator Ward. She's just been amazing. And Val here. And what's been really amazing about this is that on all of these signings, typically medical schools are signing for a contract and affiliation. It's a business contract. It's just an agreement. And here we've had press, we've had community collaborations, people coming in from neighboring towns, clinicians, employees speaking about what this means for their communities with this approach of growing your own and really looking at what it takes for us to have physicians who come from rural regions and local communities and will return to serve and stay. We were very fortunate to be granted some funding from the Center for Rural PA to look at using a recruitment approach of attributes, traits, and values, what current physicians in practice throughout Pennsylvania have in common, so that we can then recruit for those attributes. So we're really excited about having a different approach to recruitment so that we know that if we keep doing what we've always done, we're going to get the same results. I don't know about you guys, but we would love to really improve this position and healthcare crisis throughout rural Pennsylvania. So we're looking at attributes and traits, strong credit scores. We're looking at recruiting first generation undergraduate students, much like IUP and the Apache statewide schools, to inspire students who never would have considered becoming physicians to become physicians, because we can see in early national data, students who have exposure to rural locations, who are from rural regions, tend to return and stay. We've also seen that first generation students who had never considered becoming physicians, like both myself and Dr. Smith, tend to return to rural regions and stay in the regions. So we're really excited about a new model for recruitment and retention of medical students that will hopefully change the model and put a dent in some of these challenging statistics that are on. So thank you for your attention. We're happy to answer any questions as a team, but we just could not be more excited and honored and grateful for the incredible communities from the this project so far.
Any questions for Mr. Bones? I do. If a county in here was looking to reach out for partnership placement, that's still open.
So that's fun. Absolutely. So we've got Dr. Smith, our Associate Dean of Clinical Education.
Yes. Everybody, yes, absolutely. Thank you for that.
Students, great.
Okay, absolutely, yes. Yeah, so anybody who has links to community organizations or health centers or state hospitals or any clinical entity where students may be welcome trained, please let me know. I think my card is circling around, or I can give my email address, sparwiseman, IT, all right. So we're always looking for additional places for our students. We're also trying to develop a plan where the students are going to be based in a rural region for the entirety of their clinical training. That way, it's not just a one-off thing where they're just in a rural location for a month and then they're back in an urban place. We're really trying to practice what we preach. So we're really trying to develop these rotations so they're based in these rural locations, so they go to farmers market to interact with their patients, in downtown, and they do local shopping, and live in that region where they're where they're practicing. That's a unique thing because we have enough rotation right now to do that. A lot of schools are challenged by that. But again, as we mentioned here, the more we can get, the better. So please do forward, anything onto me that we can potentially connect with. I'm more than happy to follow on those things. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Any other questions?
So, what would you say is something that would be helpful for people that want to advocate on behalf of rural healthcare and why it's so important? Is there any stats or information that would be helpful to anybody in this room to really start pushing forward?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that slide that we showed on the rural healthcare crisis and the trends of where people are going and the trends of where people are leaving versus those that are staying. Chris and I did a deep dive into some of the national data, and the unfortunate reality is that this map looks worse every year. And physicians are becoming more and more burnt out. And so if you know individuals who you know would be an incredible physician, but they haven't considered it, please encourage them to start watching what we're doing. We're not technically recruiting, but we're really trying to build a new model of recruitment, because what we've been doing and who we've been recruiting, many of those physicians are not staying in rural regions, they're not committed to rural regions, and they haven't had these incredible community experiences. They have these token one-off experiences. So yes, as Commissioner Fabian has referenced, if you have a hospital or a local community group that just needs more physicians, please contact us, because our recruitment will not be a token rural experience. It'll be a rural immersion to help our students become a part of the communities. If you are within one of the areas that you already see local signings, please contact us if you have ideas about housing. That's another area. We want students to become a part of the infrastructure of your communities. We're going to need a lot more help than just the rotations now. We need housing, we need infrastructure, because we are creating a future workforce pipeline to help build your communities, because we know that physicians as leaders within healthcare teams can build the infrastructure to help economic development in your communities. So any folks who are really interested in helping this project, please reach our way. And thanks for being such a great contact for both you and yes.
And one of the state summits that we went on. So one of the main points that you hit the nail on the head, Jen, is that there is not a lot of centralized data about rural health needs assessment, like a comprehensive report, right? You can find like pieces here and there across Pennsylvania. Well, we had Secretary Bogan and Secretary Arkush reached out to us because we hosted we were the host site and a collaborator on their first series of a regional rural health summit. And they're looking for other counties across Pennsylvania to be a host site as well. If you want the playbook, we basically wrote it with Karen Rhodes, Dr. Karen Rhodes, and Brenda and a couple others from Department of Health. It was a great day, brought together about 160 healthcare influencers from state government, federal government, from healthcare, public and private industries. And we were very pleased to just have that day where we focused conversations and were very intentional around the healthcare gaps across rural Pennsylvania. So if you wanted to add anything, Dr. Rose, it was a very good day. And we did pull away with some outcomes, which we will be generating a post-summit report within 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think we try to keep it as brief and focused as possible, but Indiana County, it's based on It's a Wonderful Life, where Jimmy Stewart was born and raised, and this motto of compassion and kindness to others, where Christmas is celebrated for almost 4 months of the year. What a better place than to start a medical school that has focus on compassion, kindness, communication skills, not as the add-on, but at the forefront. Because we know that one of the biggest challenges in medical care is patients feeling heard and seen and understood. And so many medical errors and even litigation challenges could have been solved if our clinicians were better trained at some of the basic communication care skills. It turns out it's not so much the medical knowledge as it's the communication. So we could not be more thrilled to be doing this out of Indiana, where it's a wonderful life.
It's almost hard to believe that there's only 11 in the entire nation. When you said that statistic, and being the first one in Pennsylvania, congratulations. This is a big deal. And congratulations to President Driscoll and the whole team for doing something great for this region. So thank you so much.
And it's a bold move, right? Like enrollment is going, the part that we haven't really talked about extensively is across the nation, enrollments in public universities particularly is declining. And what a bold move to say enrollment is declining, finances are starting to feel the squeeze, let's build a medical school. Once we can get this off the ground, and it's already got much, much more legs than we ever anticipated, thanks to you all in your community supporting and coming to us, we're now getting this off the ground. The financial and economic impact, once we do, it's a very well demonstrated national model in urban areas. And we couldn't be more excited and honored to be a part of this brave move by our president and a school that really recruits students statewide who are children of coal miners and a lot of working middle class students who want to develop an education and start careers and enter the workforce doing exciting, incredible things. And we know that what IUP has to offer will be incredible once applied to medicine. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
We'll leave you with one final thought. We have our fourth National Rural Health Day Conference. We are one of only 2 counties. Wayne County does something formal too. But in our 4th year, it'll be this November in Indiana. If anyone wants to be a collaborator on that, please let us know. Our theme is rural innovation around healthcare. So when we think about emerging technologies, some of these rural airports are reimagining themselves as drain sites for public health and safety. I mean, there's a lot of things going on right now, but we are going to focus in on that conversation about rural innovation around healthcare. And that's November 20th. And we invite you all to be part of that day. That's driven out of a 23-person planning committee. So we are in kindred spirits when we know it takes a lot of hands and minds to make a lot of big impact like your commission here. So thank you again.
Let's give IEP a round of applause. Stephanie, now. If you don't think there's a crisis in rural healthcare, you're just not paying attention. I give IUP, Dr. Rose, and her team an awful lot of credit for embarking on this. They're coming up with a solution that could be these barriers or gaps, and it's truly appreciated. So keep up the good work. And I'm a neighbor, and I know we have a partnership, and it still fathoms me to look at the Northwest counties that women cannot even deliver a baby in their county. They have to drive multiple counties just to find I call them Obi-Wan Kenobis, but OBGYN is with. But that's just unbelievable to me. So.
Or 2 points.
You all free. If you remember one thing today, all right. Thank you again. We appreciate you being here. Moving on to agenda item 11. We do have an action item, resolution 6-25. I'm going to kick it over to DJ Ryan to talk about that resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very quick. This is the first of 2 action items that are going to come before you from my department. This is to adopt the limited English proficiency plan. That document was emailed out to all of you as meeting attachments. There's at least 1 copy here, 2 that we have printed. If you do want to take a look at before you leave, but you all have it in your email. Last update for this plan was in 2017. And I just want to give you a couple quick statistics. Since that update, things have changed quite a bit in terms of the languages in our region that are not primary language other than English. Spanish is so predominant, but as you can see, we've had a lot of different Asian languages that are predominant here. The whole point of this plan is to ensure that every person who lives in the 10 county region can take part in the planning process. And so as we're going to develop our looking ahead towards reviews and towards our Title VI plan updates and everything else, we want to make sure the limited English proficiency plan is adequate. And so that's what we're doing here. And staff work on this quite a bit. I want to give a shout out to Melissa, who has been putting her heart and soul into this, and she can read through it at her own birthday. And we're very excited to bring it to you today.
Any questions for DJ?
I have a couple questions. First, can you tell me what are the updates and what's different between this version and the 2020?
Yeah, I mean, it's really the biggest thing is making sure that we have the different languages that we are providing to these languages. But there's also little things that we've done, like for example, if you've been to anybody who's had public meetings, there haven't been that many yet since we've made this correction. But Rhonda Craig, our public involvement coordinator, now has cards that she hands out that have a whole bunch of different languages on, not just these. So that if someone can't communicate with us verbally, they can check a box that has their language on it. And so we can say, so that way we know what language we need to have materials available for them in. A lot of it is pretty standard, though, to be honest with you. There was a time when we were required to do this. We are not at this moment required to do that. But we've basically done with it anyway, and it's an important thing for our region. So we're keep joining very much.
I saw that there were the public participation panels
Yes.
I think, and there was, I did actually take a look at it. So there's a lot of, I think, good stuff in here. In terms of the public participation panels, is there any kind of assessment or review of the membership of those panels? Because I noticed that there was a comment in the plan that there have never been, SPC's never received comments from someone who has limited English proficiency. Is that true?
So
Have to.
it's a translation request. So we've never received a translation request applied to the regular languages that we translate into. So
Okay. Well, I was wondering how many folks on these panels are of limited English proficiency and or have connections to communities where English is not first language.
So the panels are designed, and this kind of actually goes into our next.
It does.
All the time that they work together. The panels are designed to be representative of each county. Ultimately, there's no limit to who the county leadership can put on those panels, and so our ask is that they be as representative of the county as possible. And I know that in at least a couple of the meetings that I've been to, that there have been people who I will say at least are fluent in another language, whether or not they're limited in English. But as you can see, it's a very, very small percentage of the overall population who are not proficient in English, all new proficients. So these numbers that you're seeing these are people who do not speak English. There are a lot of people who are multilingual, for example. I think that it would be a wonderful thing if it's our public participation things included those who are proficient in English.
It's just wondering whether there was a process or the potential for kind of a review or assessment of making sure that there are some of these folks participating. If there's 300 panelists across the 10 counties, then having a few of them, even for these numbers, representative would be absolutely that could speak to what the needs really are of this, which might help along with all the other good efforts that are already in this plan. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And yes, I agree with you. Ultimately, the county is like on the panels. And so if there is any county that would like to, I think can always add people. But if you want to have analysis of what communities are represented, that is something we perhaps provides to you. If you're not sure, you want to ask those questions yourself necessarily. And Fonda, so she's down there now, and can certainly provide the data too. We're going to be coming out to all the counties. We've done a few of these orientations. So we're going to.
So if I hear you correctly, I mean, ultimately it's up to planning directors and county commissioners to submit these lists of panelists to Rhonda. So really they need to be astute in making sure that those folks are represented or someone is representing, or it looks like the community that they're putting forward, to your point. So I don't know if that falls on SPC. I'm sure they're going to be looking at it in the future, but really it falls back on the counties to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's just my take. So, Commissioners?
Great. There were several specific categories, I think, for the public participation panels. And then there was kind of like a general and to represent the community. So they could fall for that.
Any other comments? Any DJ on this resolution? All right. So I'm going to call for a motion, and then if you have a second for discussion for adoption.
I'll make a motion.
That's the Tony. Any further question or comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution 6-25 pass. All right. Going on to agenda item 12, action item, resolution 7-25, public participation panel. I'm going to take it over to Rhonda.
Good afternoon, everyone. So the public participation plan, it provides an outline of SPC's, the tools and the techniques that we use to engage the public and throughout our transportation planning and also programming process. You've all received a copy of the public participation in your email, or it was in that part of that link. And then there are 3 floating around here on the tables. The public participation plan, the draft is available starting on SPC's website on March the 3rd, and it closed at 5 p.m. on April the 16th. The comments were collected through SurveyMonkey. It was a short survey. The map to the right is a depiction of the comments that we collected. So as you can see, there's representation across all of our 10 counties. So I was really excited. That's really good. And also the Transportation Technical Committee and also the Transportation Operations Committee recommended for the adoption. The survey, again, asked about the engagement that SPC does. We collected 74 responses. 32%, just some statistics real quick, 32% said they never attended or commented on any of our plans. However, 30% is very involved. Most respondents said that they worked in the region. 78% said that they like to receive their information via email, and 49% said that they would like to see more meeting online options. Along with 42% said that more outreach and volume of outreach. 45% said that they prefer to give feedback through hybrid meetings, while 41% said virtual. The next steps is to compile the results into a comment report. And in the future, we'll get that report up underneath the Get Involved tab on SPC's website. I want to say thank you to everybody that participated in the comment or the public participation, the plan comments. We really appreciate that here at SPC. So thank you so much.
All right, so with resolution 7-25, we're looking to adopt the public 2025 public participation plan. And does anybody have, well, let's go. Well, let's do a motion second. Second, Blair, Leslie. You got motions in a second, so we're going to open up the question.
Thank you. And I have a question about this one too. It kind of actually ties into the last one, thinking about language. So one thing that I really appreciated about this plan was the involvement of community organizations and working with groups to make sure that information is getting out there and getting to folks. I did notice that the community organizations that were listed didn't necessarily reflect some of those updates in terms of the language availability. So a lot of the groups were working with Spanish language speakers, radio stations and different community groups working with that population, but there weren't really as many for kind of the Asian language groups or any of the other ones on the list. And so I just wanted to know whether this update reflects an opportunity to whether it really is a living document in the sense of how are these community partnerships developed, and given even the comments of wanting more outreach and wanting more communications on these things, is there an opportunity to continue to expand that list to, again, just reflect what we know in terms of the communities served?
Yeah, absolutely is the short answer. So the statistics for the LEP pulled very recently, and now we the TPP can be changed all the time. And one of the things that we're not obligated to anymore, at least I was just trying to explain. We absolutely need to engage with people of a broad range of we need to reach people where they are. So now that we have that information out, we're gonna reach out to more institutions and hopefully some new media as well. One of the challenges that we've had is discovering some of the media outlets that our LEPs are consuming, and we want to make sure that they're locally used. So that's something we're looking at.
Any other comments? All right, all those in favor of adoption of 725, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. I'm going to open it up for other business. Always think it's important to hear from our co-commissioners in Southwestern PA. Anybody have anything urgency they'd like to bring up before the board? Been here long enough.
Get that.
Just two quick reminders. May 5th to 6th. If you're not signed up for Harrisburg, make sure you get signed up. I can tell you hotels are pretty sparse right now. And then for the commissioners, May 16th is keep that same date in Armstrong.
And I just said, if you're going to your county commission, don't be Harrisburg. It's please, so one trade.
I look for a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed. Have a good evening.